Hello, my pre-calculus student. In this video, we are going to graph point on a polar coordinate system. Let's begin with the first point. It's point P. We have the distance directly from the pole is 3, and the direct angle from the polar axis is 5 pi over 6. The first thing we are going to do is we're going to start with the angle 5 pi over 6. So from the polar axis at 0, we go counterclockwise and look for pi over 6. So now we found the angle 5 pi over 6. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it so that you see. Now the next thing we are going to do is we are going to count the distance from the pole to get 3 units. We have 1, 2, 3. So that will be point P. Next, let's go ahead and plot point Q. Now point Q, we have negative direct distance from the pole, and we also have negative direct angle from the polar axis. So we start with the angle again, negative pi over 2. So from the polar axis at 0 radian, when you go clockwise, you can go down and look for negative pi. Now you are not going to see negative pi over 2 directly, because the way we label this, we label positive angle, so we go counterclockwise. So when you go here, so 0, and right here at 3 pi over 2, that would be the same thing as negative. So this will be the same thing as negative pi over 2. Now from the pole, we are going to count the distance toward this. So the distance is 2. So 1, 2, but we cannot take this point. So we make a note right here for you that since the direct distance from the pole is negative, then point Q lies on the right opposite the terminal side. So this is the terminal side of, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this terminal side. So this is the terminal side of negative pi over 2. If the direct distance is positive, then the point will stay on the terminal side. However, since the direct distance is negative, so the point will stay on the opposite side of the terminal side. So from here, from the pole, you count opposite direction. You count 1, 2. So this will be point Q. So now we are going to learn how to represent the same point, but using 4 different points. I'm using 4 different representation. So I'm going to make a note right here. This is 4 different representation. For the polar coordinates N. So point N, we go ahead and 5, 3 pi over 2. So first of all, let's go ahead and locate point N. So from the 0 radian, we are going to go ahead and locate the angle 3 pi over 2 radian. So we go counterclockwise, 1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2. So here So this will be the terminal side of our angle 3 pi over 2 radian. And then from the pole we count 5 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is point N. Now there are 4 different representations for the same point. This point N will be the same thing as we add another 2 pi to 3 pi over 2. It means that, like you go 3 pi over 2, you go another complete 360 degree or 2 pi, so you still end up at the same terminal side, which is we call co-terminal. So that will be 5. The direct distance is 5. So 5, 3 pi over 2 plus another 2 pi. So this will be exactly at the same point on the polar coordinates. Now let's go to point number 2. So now if you think about negative, this will be exactly as we write as negative 5, 3 pi over 2 plus pi. So let's see what do we mean here. So again, from your 0 radian, you go and look at 3 pi over 2. If you add pi, it will end at pi over 2. So it ends here. And then since you have negative direct distance, so the point have to be on the opposite side of your terminal. So it's not going to be in this way, it will be on this way. So exactly the same point. How about we're going to do one more? How about the point negative 5, 3 pi over 2 minus pi. So look at here. You are going to start at 0 radian. You go counterclockwise until you end up with 3 pi over 2. So from here, and then you go clockwise. So think about you take 3 pi over 2 minus pi, so that will give you pi over 2. So you end up here at pi over 2. But since your direct distance is negative 5, so that's why the point have to lie on the ray that opposite with your terminal side, so still at the same point. So now you can see that there will be 4 different representation for the same angle. Now I'm going to do one last one. How about 5, 3 pi over 2 minus 2 pi. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go back here. So from 0, you locate 3 pi over 2. And then now you will minus 2 pi. It means that from here you go backward 1 complete rotation. You still end up at the same terminal side. So that's why that was exactly the same point. So here we are. These are the 4 different representation for the same polar coordinate point n, which is 5, 3 pi over 2. And it's also the conclusion for this video. Please write your own summary. Thank you and goodbye.